Good morning, everyone. I would like to call the monthly meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Noting on roll call that all members are present with the exception of the chairman who has an excused medical absence. Could I have, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda for the meeting is approved. Next item, can I have a motion to approve the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes of February 19th, 2022?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. I only have one opening request. Andrea, in the past, the parking has given the commission placards for parking if we have meetings during the summer. Can you just make sure that for the April meeting that we have new parking stickers? Thank you very much. I have no other announcements. Any members' comments? All right, then moving to item E1, non-residential design review committee update. Susan?
Well, they met last week, I believe, and there was one sign to review for Off the Hook. They are taking down the sign that they have and making one that centers over the two storefronts that they now occupy. It was a white background with black lettering, and it was approved.
And that's the location on Garfield Parkway.
Yes.
Got it. Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you very much. Comments, updates regarding the town council meeting. Scott?
Thank you. Yes, the town council met yesterday. We voted on a number of things. Chief among them was to approve adding $251,000 to the general fund budget to advance the 30% study on the Loop Canal bladder dam / flap gate. So that study will begin, actually not the study, but the drawings. The study, we were given a presentation on the study. I think many of us were here for that. We voted on a number of other just kind of amendments to the budget. I think none of those are super important, but voted to approve the exercise class schedule. So there'll be a number of classes held this year, more than usual on the beach and actually in Central Park. So that'll be a kind of an interesting way to use Central Park. We had essentially our first and second readings of the changes that we discussed at a previous meeting about the solid waste program. So, but essentially bulk trash pickup has been amended per our last review of that. So you can no longer leave an entire tree in front of your yard and have it be picked up. We made the town maintenance staff happy in that regard, and maybe a little frustrated, and we tabled a discussion on paving the lot behind the crab house here, looking for further options on pervious paving there. Otherwise, that's the update from town council.
I have just a general question, and I probably should know the answer to this. But the concessionaires, when if they have a yoga class,
there's a charge to that. And individuals that go pay them directly. It doesn't come to the town. I think that's the way it works.
That's correct.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions on the town council meeting? Any comments or questions from planning commission members? Hearing none. Any public comment or questions to the planning commission for those in attendance or those listening in? Good. I think we may set a record today.
Not if I have anything to do with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to move, we have no new business, ladies and gentlemen. And under old business, I'd like to just jump to item D, the consideration and vote on a change to the code of Bethany Beach Code, Chapter 425, Appendix 4, the non-residential design review guidelines. More specifically, to just consider a change to the non-residential review committee membership, changing the requirement that one member be the town council liaison on the planning commission to requiring one member of the town council. Susan, do you want to present what the background to this if we need it?
I don't know that we do. I think we just want to make the change. The change was suggested to make it to just one member of the town council, and not have to have it be the liaison to the planning commission.
Gotcha.
I have a little bit of background I can
Okay.
share on that. So this was discovered by Lou, who actually wrote the non-residential design review guidelines. So he wrote this and it didn't become an issue because Lou has served on the non-residential design review committee for a number of years, and he was also the town council's liaison to the Planning and Zoning Commission for that overlapping period of time. While reviewing the town code, he discovered that it should, as currently written, require that the person, in this case me, who is the town council's liaison to the Planning and Zoning Commission, should sit sit on the non-residential design review committee. We realize that is not very necessary because our commission chair also sits on the non-residential design review committee. Susan attends those meetings, so there's a lot of overlap. And Lou felt like, and I agreed, and Rosemary agreed, that that committee would be better served by having Lou continue on with his experience and time, and it wasn't really necessary for the council's representative or council's liaison to continue on there.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the public? Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Scott, for that. I just wanted to add that it does provide flexibility because there's nothing to say that Scott can't be the representative. It just provides just more flexibility for the council to appoint someone.
Thank you. Any other questions or yes, ma'am.
Okay. I assume that there's still, according to this, there's still a member of the planning commission on the design board, along with a member of the business community. And Susan. Okay.
So for those of you that might be listening in, this is a minor correction and gives greater flexibility to the membership of the board. Having no further questions, can I entertain a motion to?
I move that we accept the amended membership to the non-residential design review as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Measure is passed. Now, returning back to the agenda as published, item A is a general review of the comprehensive plan. And I've received good news before the meeting about the review of the plan and would like to ask Scott to fill us in.
Sure. So I think a number of the commissioners had suggested to the town council, the mayor and vice mayor, that we consider an approach similar to Millville and Ocean View, where we have an outside agency actually develop the or do the formatting and the sort of hard work of putting together the actual comprehensive plan, which would allow the Planning and Zoning Commission to kind of focus on the thinking work. They heard you, and Terry, our assistant town manager, and Cliff Gravier worked with IPA, and IPA recently, in the last couple of days, confirmed that they would be willing to take this on. So and I think Terry has some information she'd like to share with us, some more information on that.
Now, remember, we're trying to set a world's record here for the shortest meeting.
That's why I cut it off right there, yeah.
This will be very, very short. We actually did meet with IPA. We talked to them about the process, what had been done. They have a copy of what you have all done year to date, and they said, it was impressive that we got as much done. But the problem is, we don't have contacts at the state agencies that require, all state agencies have priorities. They have priorities about, what needs to be in that plan. And what we were doing was kind of cleaning it up and refreshing it and updating it. And, as many agencies go, they shift priorities. So IPA they have a relationship with each and every one of those agencies. So they're going to take a look at that. And they did say that they didn't think that finishing by August would be possible, so we did go to the Office of State Planning, and we received word yesterday that they will grant us a 6-month extension beyond that, so for them to do the work right. And what this does is set us up in 5 years from now down the road, when we go to redo the plan again and look at it, it'll be more current and up to date than it would have been had we just updated it. So we thought that was a better approach. So they're working on that now. In fact, I just heard from him late in the day yesterday before we came into the council meeting that we got the extension and that it'll be good to go forward. So that's the update. I think we're in good hands with IPA. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm disappointed a little bit, because I did all my homework. I went through this and checked all of the grammar, and so, all of the, so we don't have to spend any time today on that. That'd be great. Yes?
Can I get the name of the company again? IPA?
The Institute for Public Administration, affiliated with the University of Delaware.
Oh, I see, okay.
Fantastic.
What's the process for engaging with them on behalf of the commission here and communicating sort of our direction or collaborating back and forth?
They'll do some research, and then they'll bring that back to the commission. And I know from our initial discussion, there'll be at least one public outreach event, like they'll have a workshop, so that we make sure that it's vetted with the public before we actually put everything in. About the time that it becomes a draft, that's when they release that to the public. But I think there are a couple of meetings, a joint meeting with the council and the planning commission, so there'll be many times for you to give input.
Got it. Thank you.
And I think on that, from what I understand, those are things we actually didn't know we were supposed to be doing, the public hearings and the joint meetings.
They'll make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed, yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
Is this who assisted us before?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions about the way forward on the comprehensive plan? Items B and C on the agenda concern continuing discussion on noxious plants and tree replacement, and a discussion, continued discussion on the Green Bethany initiative. I think we can roll those two together as we go forward. Yesterday at the town council meeting, one of the items that was tabled had to do with the repaving, the potential repaving of the town-owned parking lot east of the Crab House. It's a gravel parking lot right now. And the town has been wrestling with what would be the proper surface to put down if they were to do that, and trying to match the realities of the world with some of the initiatives that we have been talking about related to pervious ground cover and so forth. And that's been a challenge. And the town council yesterday tabled the proposal to just go ahead and put macadam down on it because they recognize that as part of our discussions, we're looking at potentially imposing requirements on all the property owners in the town regarding pervious coverings and so forth. And so that remains an open issue or a pending issue subject to further review and investigation. So I'm sitting at home last night between basketball games, and I had two thoughts that came across my mind. I don't know if anybody remembers when you could buy these like cleats that you could put on the bottoms of your shoe that had like nails on it, that you could literally walk around your yard and aerate your yard.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh?
I think you can still do that.
Yeah. And I thought, well, that's probably not going to work for the parking lot, but there are in fact,
There were no little shoes.
yeah, but there are in fact some road equipment that are big, like tumblers that have spikes on it to aerate and break through the ground and all. And during the discussion yesterday, it was pointed out that while it's gravel, and you might think that it was pervious, that the underneath of it had in fact compacted such that it was like a subterranean pavement and I just wonder if there isn't, as we go through this, if there isn't some kind of equipment or whatever that might in fact be able to be rolled over that or whatever, and to aerate it just like you would your yard if you had those cleats on. That may be a cockamamie idea, but I think I just put that out there because there may be some other initiatives or approaches that might satisfy the town's desire to make it even and safer and all, short of either doing regular macadam or some other thing, and juggling the cost involved the cost of doing just macadam is very inexpensive. The cost of doing some of the pervious materials is very expensive. And so the town, this is me speaking, but the town would find itself faced with, if they went pure of heart and did the pervious at hundreds of thousands of dollars cost versus macadam at tens of thousands of dollars cost, that they could rightfully open themselves up to criticism from the citizens about not handling our finances correctly. And so I would just encourage that we continue to look at other ideas and all to see if there isn't some compromise in between the two of them. And I won't be disappointed if it turns out that my idea of walking around in your with your little nails on isn't the way to go, or some version of it, but there might be something out there.
I think that's a job for the planning commission.
Just hike around the lot.
Or actually, John should be watching basketball games.
Yeah, right.
Feels like it's going to be my responsibility since I caused this trouble.
Talking about basketball games, Scott, I am sorry for your loss last night. Virginia Tech.
Hey, is a pretty good opportunity, Andrea. Put this on the record. Virginia Tech ACC basketball champions.
Right.
Get that. We actually have on this commission seen details for how you would make that pervious, and they were, when we were reviewing the last planned residential development, the engineers had shown what they would do to make the Onofre property store all of the water that landed on that. It's probably more complex than just aerating it because of the compaction, and because I know from personal experience that this area has a clay base underneath. So I think the town and Mr. Gravier were trying to be financially prudent by suggesting paving and going through and looking at the other options and seeing how expensive they would be, because it would require, to make it actually pervious, would require a significant amount of labor above and beyond just what you finish it with. So I realize the rock and the hard place that they currently find themselves in between. And I think they said that they would continue to look for other options, and if we can think of any, and I'll talk with the town engineer too to see if there's anything we can do. But
I like the idea that this could possibly be sort of an educational piece, or something where the town's leading by example here for what we're looking for residents to do as we modify and improve the landscape requirements. So with whatever solution, hopefully it's something that's more porous. That could be a way to demonstrate, with the way the lot is used to in the farmer's market and other things, that maybe there's some signage or other diagrams or something that go along with it that sort of build the story about sustainability and, a focus on that for the town.
I just wanted to say that's a much more elegant way to say what I said about virtue signaling yesterday. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm just a caveman. I just wanted to build on that about the residential requirements. After the hearing yesterday, I heard from one of the residents who just backed up the work that the commission has done to change the requirements on residential lots, on single lots. This person just noted that there's construction happening near them on a double lot, and that the whole thing was going to be essentially impervious. And understood that nothing we were doing now would change that, but they would just thought that the change couldn't come soon enough.
Well, I honestly felt a bit uncomfortable even raising this issue, because we as the Planning Commission need to be in close coordination and with the town government. And I didn't want come across as if we were questioning what they were trying to do, or that we had a different view. But it is, it's one of those, it is, to me, a rock and a hard place issue crystallized by what the town manager was proposing for the good of the community. And so, for the record, we are not at odds with what's going on, but are working to try to find a way forward that meets all sometimes conflicting policy outcomes. Yes, ma'am.
Do you, regarding your ordinance, your proposed ordinance on pervious surfaces, do you have a timetable? Because it seems like with the building too, it's something that's getting, more urgent.
That was also, that was the question I got, and I didn't have the answer to it. So it feels like we're ready to pass that ordinance on to the council for
Consideration.
yeah. Lou, maybe you can help us with what's that process? What do we need to do to get that into the council?
Just send it over.
Just send it over? Okay.
I thought we already did that.
So did I,
It was
but I just-
already, it was already voted on, and
Like it's
Mike Boswell had me printed out, and I sent it to the, yeah.
Okay, so maybe it'll be on the next,
Yep.
at the next meeting.
Yeah. that would-
So in answer to your question, Madam Mayor, we will have it on our agenda for next month's meeting in order to be sure that it gets to you.
It already was voted on and sent to them.
I'll
You
look
already
into
passed
it
it.
and perhaps then be able to put it on next month's agenda for the council.
The other thing too, you have to consider, there, while we require porous on residential properties, the problem down there at a parking lot is that pervious asphalt, because of a parking lot, there's a lot of turning in there of the wheels of going in there and going out, so versus going straight and coming back. Right. And what happens at the pervious asphalt with that turning all the time, it actually destroys it to the point where it becomes impervious. So it's well worth, it doesn't, because one is $30,000 and the other one is $400,000, it really doesn't make sense over time. It would be turned to a $30,000 project. And that's one of the issues dealing with, because it is basically, if you look at it, it's like a porous little thing that's like a little skeletal thing. And every time you turn the wheel on the thing, it just crushes it. So again, most driveways, people pull in and pull out. You're not turning wheels to it. So that would be, in a very short period of time, it would be impervious as a normal macadam. And the other thing is, that's an area that doesn't really flood. It's high there, so it's not like an issue from that point of view. But it's just something to consider.
Mr. Chairman. Is there a problem with the gravel as it exists right now? What are we trying to correct?
Over a period of time, it just gets crushed to the point where it becomes impervious.
Right.
And as was pointed out, underneath that is clay, so it really doesn't go anywhere. That's the problem.
And I think it right now needs to be constantly refreshed. So it's an ongoing maintenance issue, which is what the town's trying to address with the proposal to pave it.
My first thought yesterday was, well, that doesn't seem to be an area that floods very often. But will we be setting ourselves up for residents to say, my yard never floods, or why do I have to do this because we don't have flooding on our block, or, and then it's a matter of figuring out if that's right or wrong, or, I don't know, could be a rocky road, no pun intended, but,
Well, commission members might recall, we had a presentation some months ago where they showed the impervious coverage of the whole area in terms of all the new construction and so forth. I mean, every time you put a roof up, that takes away from the ability of the ground to absorb. And so, in the case of the gravel parking lot, even though some of us thought that, well, it was pervious because it was broken up, it turns out that it's not. So if you were to do that, Kathy, you're really not changing now the amount of coverage of an impervious surface, if you know what I'm getting at. But if that's to happen, as you just pointed out, we need to make sure that the people who pay for everything around here understand that, and that it's not a matter of do as I say, but not as I do. And it's always interesting to me how small little things suddenly can become the center of attention. But it's a good lesson both for us and for everybody, the challenges that we face in trying to minimize the impact of all the development and all for the good of the community, and actually having to manage in that community. Because, Lou, you make, I mean, $30,000 versus $450,000, that's not something to just sneeze at, and people have an absolute right to wonder why in the world are we being too green by spending $420,000 more than we had to.
We're actually taking their green to pay for it.
Right. Any other questions about the parking lot? I think we've said enough and we should move forward, but an interesting example. Susan, talking about noxious plants now.
Okay.
This all started with bamboo and a nascent effort some years ago to address it in the town code, and it never quite happened. And at the last meeting, we had a discussion about just potentially including bamboo on an existing list that the state has of noxious plants, and would like a refreshment on that.
All I could find for what the state does is the Department of Agriculture has a noxious weeds list and regulations. And on that list, there's, there's 6 plants. And Phragmites and bamboo are not on that list. There's, I'll just give the commonly known so I don't have to read the Greek. Johnson grass, Canada thistle, burr cucumber, giant ragweed, Palmer's amaranth, and Texas panicum. And these are regulated. That's it. There's also a Delaware Invasive Species Council. But they just watch them. They just tell you these are invasive. And there's no regulation to them either. So us saying, okay, we're going to go with the state, I don't think will get you the results that you're looking for. If we want to regulate bamboo, we can't tie it to the state with their regulations because it's not there.
So let me raise this question then. Is bamboo, in your experience, Susan, is bamboo in the community an issue that needs to be addressed, or are we just chasing something? I'm always leery about just putting something in place if you don't have a problem.
I've had it come up several times in my 12 and a half years here, but it's not something that's very common. I don't see a lot of it. Phragmites is more of a problem that we try and get rid of, but we do that as we see it. So, I don't.
I mean, elsewhere, it's not in the code, but we have examples for people who are thinking about building of good practices and bad practices. We actually have some pictures and so forth. And I just wonder if maybe as part of something similar to that, we might consider a section that just says we don't recommend, here are the things we would not recommend that you plant or whatever, as a guide for people, but avoiding having to get specific regulations.
I mean, that would be it'd be hard to regulate. Yeah. And it would be something that I think we should ask our horticulturists to then come up with the things that will do well in this weather, and maybe make it more positive on plantings, maybe ones that suggest things that are easily maintained for homeowners, and put something together that way.
Mr. Kilmer.
I think it'd be important to at least say that it's not permitted to have it. I mean, it's simple, because if you want to know what the destructive feature of bamboo is, just walk along the Asquemenon Canal, and you'll come to a section of bamboo, and it just overtakes everything. It will go into your neighbor's properties. It will travel quite a distance. It's the state has multiple times sprayed to kill it. It's like the only way to get rid of it is to have to dig it all up, and so it's very resistant to sit there to have it killed by chemical spray. And I just walk along the canal, you'll see a whole section there. There is bamboo everywhere, and so I think a simple statement of not permitting it. I think a lot of things I've dealt with over the years, when somebody wants to do something, says, "Where does it say I can't?" And it's maybe a simple statement, because people may not know how aggressive it is, and they might put it as a buffer between their properties, and not realizing that it's a very invasive species. So I mean, I don't think we have to go really crazy here. Just say it's don't lift a whole list of stuff. Just say bamboo is not a permitted use in the town of Bethany Beach.
Susan, any comment?
Yeah, I'm not in favor of bamboo, and Lou does a lot more gardening than I do. I can't grow anything, but yeah, I don't know where in the code we're talking about where this would be to make it something that people would know, because they don't ask me, So it's not something that I don't see it going in. I see it when it becomes the problem. So.
Yeah, but Susan, if you went to a property like with a building permit, right, and you saw them, are putting in bamboo, you would say that's not a permitted use, and they would say, where does it say I can't do this?
That's what I mean.
Not like you're going out all the time, but if you're going, like, it's going to be mostly people who are doing a major rehab or putting new property in, and they want to put a buffer between the, but it says, again, I go back and over, people say, well, where does it say I can't do this?
No, I agree. I 100% agree with that. If we're going to say you don't want it in, it has to go somewhere. But I was trying to think, where would it go? What kind of section so people could see plants that they cannot, that it's invasive or they can't?
Maybe we have to create a section.
Yeah, something.
Is it maybe possible to link out of that technical code into like a resident page on the town website that shows it in a more people aren't going to dig through the code to find out what they can or cannot plant, right? And then they won't understand it on top because it's technical, but it does.
No, you're absolutely right. It'd be better.
There's an opportunity there, and then you can put some images or some best practices examples as well. And, maybe it links to the technical if you are doing the more, holistic site redevelopment or something of that.
Well, it's especially important for landscapers who are coming into a property.
Sure.
To do something, to know what plants are permitted and which ones aren't.
Yeah. And then maybe if we get to the tree replacement criteria and some of the other
Put
things,
trees
they
in
could
there.
exist.
We could put types of paving
Right.
that they might want to consider so they could see it. Maybe there's something. So maybe that all, once we look at this ordinance and such, we put in plants and trees and pervious and do something on our website that homeowners can then go, oh, well, we want a walkway, what kind of things do they do? And landscapers can then say to their clients, well, here's some things,
Feels like that can all be part of a Green Bethany initiative, too.
Yeah, there you go.
You're really trying to move things
Just
along.
trying to move it. Look at that.
Check,
Knocked off C there, too. Yeah.
check.
No, I'm actually being serious about that. I feel like that, that sort of thing where we get architects, landscapers, we're visual people. So not having it buried, I really like that.
I like that idea also. So sometimes I can be slower than a box of rocks, ladies and gentlemen. So how now do we get that? Where do we get that started? We've sort of started it. How do we get that shaped up and written up to give us something to go forward?
You keep looking at me.
Well, I only looked at you because as sort of the keeper of the regulations and all of that.
I think we start to collect things we want to show people. And if we can collect enough, we can then put together, so we're going to have to start thinking about the things we want to tell them and start collecting that and put together a paper on it.
John, another approach which I've used in the past is I basically go on Google and look at what other communities have done, and started that as your basis of what you want. And because I'm sure there are a lot of ordinances that have already been developed in other towns, that basically this is what these are things we approve. These are things that we don't like, and these are things that we might consider. But I think rather than start from scratch and why reinvent the wheel when there's a lot of ordinances out there that will cover this, and just make it ours.
I think the town also does provides an amazing example of what grows. So maybe throughout the season we capture some of those photos too, and maybe with the horticulturist help identify things that we know thrive here, and they're all over the place, which is another sort of leading by example opportunity.
The Center for the Inland Bays every year does a native species plant sale. It's coming up next month, I think. I wonder if they have something on their website that is a guide for people what to plant and what not to plant. They might even do some kind of a demonstration at the town park, or, I don't know, just a thought.
And I think maybe some of the local landscapers know what is best when they are asked to develop a plan for the new homes or the people that want to have a garden.
Okay, so returning now to my initial question, though, I'm just trying to figure out, to whom should we be asking that this work start? Do we look at Susan or the town, or is this something that I'm going to ask each of the members here to provide ideas? I don't know how. I like what we're trying to do, but I'm trying to get the traction on it, from the engine and these great ideas to the wheels.
So I think, as Lou pointed out, I think step one might be to go do a quick search locally for an ordinance in another town that has a specific prohibition on, say, bamboo, something we want to specifically prohibit. And then I just wanted to reinforce the whole notion of best practices versus like a code that prohibits or requires certain things. Just inside baseball, on the council, we get a sort of weekly update of all the violations that owners are seeing from our code enforcement. And I just would hate to see people getting, to use a ridiculous example, a violation because they have tulips in their yard or something. Yeah. And it's, so I just think putting something out there that's like Susan was just saying, like Susan and Mark were saying, like, here's the best practice. Here's what we think you should do. You're free to do what you want to do as long as it's not a bamboo or Phragmites or something noxious. But otherwise, we'd love for you to do water efficient, native species, things like that. But if you want to have a Japanese maple in your yard, go for it. That's on you, That's all I just wanted to back up. But I think the thing to do on that is to, like Kathy and Diane were saying, like, ask for the horticulturists, ask for the Center for the Inland Bays to get their advice, and then we can put together that sort of sell sheet on here's our best practices for our photos from around the town. But that, I think it seems like two parallel tracks. One is language on a specific code that would prohibit the couple few specific things we want to prohibit, and the other is linking to a document that's here's what we'd hope to see.
All right, well, then I would like to ask all members of the commission to, in whatever way you wish, to start investigating what other communities and all have been doing, or organizations, and come back for the April meeting with what, if anything, we have found in our searches, on the one hand. And then on the other hand, Susan, I would like to ask you to start thinking about the language and the format. Not necessarily where yet, but...
I'm thinking it goes right on our website. Our website's really popular, and people go there thinking that the answer is quick and they can see it. And I think putting something right there, and they comment all the time on how beautiful the plants are in town and everything. So I think making it there and relating it to the town and everything is
the way to go,
place.
rather than coming up with a specific zoning requirement or whatever.
Yeah, because they'll never find,
Right.
landscapers won't read it. We don't look for it there.
And then my only question then in that regard would be, if you find someone who is obstreperous, all right, is something on the website sufficient for you to say, look, we don't permit that? And they say, well, where is it?
I think so. I think we're going to do something that's kind of like the non-residential design guidelines, but for
Green Bethany.
Green Bethany and putting all that there. There'll be ordinances. Maybe we do both. Maybe there is an ordinance, but we put it in there first and then create a section of ordinances that we can fall back on, maybe.
Well, that's a great way forward from my standpoint. Any comments from the board members? I
Yeah.
just recall, we've done those like Google searches in past areas that we were considering. Sometimes it turned out we got great ideas, and other times we got great ideas, and then the commercial companies didn't pay any attention. Yesterday at the town meeting, there was an example of camouflaged cell phone towers, the 5G tower. And the commission had actually looked at that some years ago, where there were some spectacularly camouflaged towers. And the one camouflage tower that we got, well, there was a comment from the crowd that it said it looked like a missile launcher. Anyway, so let's hope we have better success in our Google searches on noxious plants and all that actually translate to something than some other prior efforts that we've had.
I wish I had pictures to share of my former yard in DC where I got really stupid and accepted a gift of some bamboo from the zoo in Washington, thinking it would be a great privacy screen. And long story short, ended up taking part of my neighbor's fence down. It did, I didn't. And the only way we were to stop, we never got rid of it. I'm sure it's still there. The only way we stopped it from growing towards his fence was to dig a huge trench and put cement in so it wouldn't grow in that direction. It was a nightmare. Just a nightmare.
Great example, thank you. Do we want to talk about trees at all?
Scott and I were just chatting on side. I think we have follow-up homework to bring back to the next meeting. So there were some tweaks to what was proposed, I believe, at the January meeting that we can update and get on the agenda to review, maybe along with some of these examples for the April meeting.
Is that enough lead time?
Yeah, that should be plenty. And then one other thing maybe for us, if we want to stay in the Google Doc world, we could also share something where we put some of these links in, just like the comprehensive plan, if you find something. So I could set something up and share some instructions, or just bring them or email them to me, and we could pull them together at least.
You know, that would be an excellent idea if, and it certainly won't be I, but if we could get like a workspace or whatever.
Sure.
To whatever we find, put it there.
That's good.
So that it, depending on your level of interest, you can spend all day there or wait until the next meeting. But that would be helpful.
Yeah, I could work on something and email all of you.
Perfect. That's great.
And then that way, for the April meeting, we can make it, again, a Green Bethany.
And we will have a tutorial for you.
Oh, you will. Are there any other Green Bethany initiatives or ideas that we want to raise today going forward, looking towards April as the next time we'd have this discussion? I don't have any ideas. Well, that being the case, The action items then going forward are the commission to work on finding how other communities are dealing with some of these issues. And then, Susan, you're working on how best to present this website and all. And we would look to do that in the April meeting.
For the April meeting, is that the weekend of Easter, I believe, on the calendar?
Didn't we change that?
Oh, it's the weekend after, I think. Oh, cool. Thank you.
Oh, so
Perfect.
when is it now?
All right. Yeah, April.
Okay.
You're right, Mark. It
It's the
would have
23rd.
typically been Easter Saturday. So it's, that's the 16th. It's the 23rd.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then, since we're in our calendars, the May meeting would be Saturday, 21 May. And the June meeting would be Saturday, 18 June. Which I can already tell you that I probably won't be here because of the resurrection of an annual trip to Ireland that is potentially happening. And not that you need me, but anyway, those are the dates going forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Meeting.